Magic makers, and welcome to another new moon reading, this time for the 30th of August 2019. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a different setup today. The reason is that Josefina has been sick since Sunday, so that means no babysitting for me for the entire week, and therefore no quiet focused time to do this new moon reading throughout the day at all. So I'm going to be improvising a little bit this time, which means that instead of an actual moving video, you will only see pictures of the cards and I'll do a voiceover with it. Hopefully that will work just fine. So as usual, we will have a look at what's good to let go of this new lunar cycle. That's the card on the bottom on the left. Then we will have a look on the opposite position, which is the card of letting in on the other hand, so what we should open ourselves up to this upcoming month. And the top card is the guidance card that will help us putting the previous two into practice and translate everything into actual life. What's interesting about this reading is that it's very bright, very wide, and also super sharp. If you have a look at it, there's a lot of triangles, glassy kind of structures and textures. So it might be interesting to sit down with this symbolics and have a little bit of a meditation or a thought about what that could potentially mean for you. Okay, so on the letting go position, we got the Justice this time. And Justice is from the Major Arcana. And those are always very strong symbols, very strong cards that usually tell us something that transcends our everyday life. They usually point to much bigger lessons, challenges, and gifts that we could learn from. So what that means this upcoming lunar cycle is that this is going to be a big topic that probably is not going to be too easy to manage because it's very strong and not as banal as kind of like other everyday stuff would be. And there are two things in this card. So the first one is balance, because Justice is all about balancing things, harmonizing, finding the right sweet spot, right? And that's a good thing, obviously, to strive for harmony and balance. But because we have this card on the negative position of letting go, I think what it's telling us here is the opposite, that striving for balance and harmony can actually be oftentimes very harmful, especially for us as kind of spiritual, mindful people, because it feels like it's a point where we can get and then stay there forever, right? But the truth is that balance is just utopia. It's nothing that actually exists in real life, because we only just oscillate around the sweet spot in our everyday lives, and as soon as we get super close to it, we're usually bumped to one side or another again, to one of the extremes. And that's because there's nothing happening in there, in the Zen balance spot. Think about it, when you are in those moments or situations in your life where everything is just right and there's nothing missing, you're feeling great, you don't need anything, you're not striving for anything anymore. Well, that means there is no movement, right? It's kind of dead. And so that is actually the definition of balance, death. Because as long as there's movement, as long as there's life, there's always some striving for something. And that's a good thing. So have in mind this upcoming month, this idea that it's good to aim to get closer to the sweet spot, whatever that means in your life, in specific circumstances or situations. but it's not good to think of that sweet spot as some kind of a destination that you should arrive to and never leave again, because that's simply not going to happen, and it will only cause you a lot of suffering. So to put it really simply, just remember that you are only human this month, okay? And that it's nice that you want to be Zen, but you're probably never going to be any Buddha or like a great Zen master, because honestly, would you even want that? Another meaning that's kind of hidden in this card is quite obviously the topic of justice, okay? And that can take two forms. So either you are that one person who's so just and always looking for the right solution for everybody, and also feels responsible for finding that right solution for everybody. And that is super exhausting because, yeah, you can't maintain this position forever because you kind of are losing yourself in it. You are sacrificing yourself for the sake of others. Okay, so this card tells you, stop doing that. The other situation is the opposite, and that's when you feel like the whole world is against you and everything is unjust, and you are in this victim mentality, stuck in there with your own head in your own asshole. And you just can't see beyond it. Everything and everybody seems like they're against you. The problem with both these scenarios, though, is that it's usually just lack of communication from your part. Because in the first scenario, oftentimes we don't even ask people if they want us to make decisions for them or if they want us to find the solutions. And we do it anyways because we somehow feel that's our job. But the truth is, when we start communicating about it, people will be like, oh, I never asked for that, that's fine, you don't have to worry about this. The other scenario is kind of the same, because oftentimes we are in this victim mentality only due to our inability to actually voice our needs and wants. So a current example from my own life, I'm still a stay-at-home mom, right? And oftentimes I get super frustrated about the fact that Josefina keeps talking to me all day long, and there's always somebody who wants me to do something, and I don't have a minute when I could do my own stuff or do anything focused at all. Whereas David, my husband, has plenty of time like that, right? He's just sitting behind his computer, enjoying his calm work, focusing on one task, and doesn't have to do like a bambillion things at the same time. Now, when I get frustrated like this, I keep forgetting that first of all, it's my choice to be in this situation. And second of all, I could ask him to help me out or do anything really to change the circumstances. But the thing is, I don't do that. And then I'm just stuck in this situation where I just feel awful. So yeah, that's a very long way how to describe that this card is telling you to let go of this month. And how to do that, we'll get to that in a second. Because the letting in card, on the other hand, looks very similar actually. A lot of triangles, very pointy and kind of obscure as well. But here we have the King of Swords. And this card is all about communication, assertiveness, self-respect, knowing what you want, and actually getting it or asking for it too. The king is male and mature male energy. And that means that it's very straightforward and forward going. It's energy that's doing stuff, okay? He's not just sitting around and waiting for somebody else to do stuff for him or for it to randomly happen. He actively makes things happen, and he does it through communication, because swords are the symbol of the ego, of the mind, and also communication. So here it's all about voicing what you actually want, what you actually need, what you're actually longing for, and not being ashamed about it at all. Because this guy, he doesn't second guess himself, okay? Like most men don't in most ways or things, right? He just asks for it. Because why wouldn't he, right? He's not feeling good in something, or maybe he does, and it doesn't matter. He communicates it both ways. And that's how he changes his circumstances. That's also how he kind of stabilizes himself in his own reality, how he reinforces his image of himself. So what that means for the upcoming lunar cycle is that you should open yourself up to open communication. It's time for being assertive and saying what you actually mean, what you actually want, not trying to find nice, complicated ways how to describe something super sophisticatedly when actually it's very simple. Which brings us to the last card, to the guidance card, and this time it's the card of conflict. Now, we're usually super scared of conflict because we see it mostly negatively as something that's very destructive, and for sure, that's what it is in many cases, but it can also be very healing and very constructive, quite ironically. And that's because sometimes, especially when we are stuck in some kind of a situation, that's pretty much the only way how to get unstuck and how to let some fresh air in to relationships or situations that have been kind of bubbling under the lid. So this month, be ready to get involved in some conflict, and probably I would suggest that's what the card is saying. Actually actively look for them because they will help you to get resolution for things, situations, and relationships that you don't feel like you have resolution for now. And they will help you to get clearer on your priorities, on your values, and on what you actually want and need in your life right now. So, yeah. I'm not saying it's not scary. It definitely can be scary, also depending on what type of a personality you are. But if you are scared of conflict, then try to maybe look for some situations or examples where you can see that it's actually beneficial and healthy, okay? It can be your actual life experience if you look back and you remember something that was a conflict and it ended up well, or look for anything really, like movie scenes or songs or I don't know. Also, I want to say by conflict, I don't necessarily mean anything huge where like plates and knives are flying, right? Like it can be just some kind of a confrontation that's not really pleasant, or doesn't even have to be unpleasant, but maybe it's just scary and that's why you're avoiding it, because it's a little bit uncomfortable, but that's fine. Okay, so to summarize the whole reading again. So what you should let go of this month is some kind of a false idea of lasting balance in your life that you're striving for. And then whatever happens that kind of pushes you out of balance makes you feel miserable because it makes you feel like you're failing when actually you're just living your life as it's supposed to be lived. Okay? Also, be aware of being in the victim mentality, or on the other hand, being the one who's always just, always right, always responsible for everybody else. Neither one of these is healthy, but the way out of it is through communication, which is the card of letting in the King of Swords. And that's all about being open, assertive, firm in your decisions and standpoints and views this month. And it's also about confidence, being confident with who you are, what you are standing up for, what you believe in. And yeah, I'll say it once again, openly communicating how things are rather than trying to tiptoe around it. The guidance card is the card of conflict. And in relationship to what I've just said, it's kind of self-explanatory. Be open to conflict this month. Don't be scared of it. Or if you are scared of it, that's fine, but try to go for it anyways, because it will very likely bring you something positive and a lot of resolution. So, as always, I hope it all made sense. Please let me know in the comments again, because I always love hearing from you and getting your feedback, whether, you like the readings, whether you would like me to tweak anything or do something differently. Let me know. I'm always interested. I do this for you guys, so it only makes sense you let me know what you'd prefer. And yeah, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you next month. Bye.